Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at the new Datascape archetype that got revealed, I believe, yesterday or the day before. Now, this archetype is absolutely busted. Every single monster is literally a gazelle and free summon, and they have 3 spells and traps, I believe. A one literally puts one spell trap straight to the field. It's a normal spell, and they can two other one continuous spell and one continuous trap, and both of them are super great in this archetype. The continuous spell's graveyard effect is when you can banish it from your graveyard, search a Datascape monster, and then send a card from your hand to the graveyard. And then the trap's graveyard effect is if I can just get the trap right here. Yes, you can banish it to increase or decrease the level of a Dayscape monster by 3, which is super great in this deck, mainly because you can really easily make Ultimaya Zolkin in this deck. So our opponent has 2 copies of Santa Claus. Nobody has played this card in the last 10 years, but let's see what this does. Also, by the way, every single Datascape monster except one specific Datascape monster, this one, has the effect. You can target one Datascape card you control, send one Datascape card with a different card type, spell, monster, trap, to the graveyard, special summon it, and then you get different effect. So this one can just send another Datascape card from your deck to graveyard with different type. So if you have this face up on field, you can target it, and then you can send either a monster or a trap to the graveyard. You special summon this one, and then this card's effect is you can send a card with different types to the ones you had used in its previous effect. So pretty much, if you send a monster with this effect, you can send a trap too, which is super duper great. And all of these can summon themselves for free, by the way, which is absolutely broken. The only thing they lock you out of is you cannot summon stuff except level or rank 3 or higher monsters, which isn't too big of a deal. This deck can easily flood the board with monsters. It can probably synergize with Burning Abyss, for all we know. So that's enough talking. Let's go straight to the game. So I'm going to start off by activating the continuous spell, and then we can activate the level 6's effect. We dump a copy of this one, and we haven't talked about this one. It's the odd one out. It's the only Dayscape that cannot summon itself from the hand. In fact, it summons itself from the graveyard if a level 3 or if a level 3 monster is normal special summoned and is treated as a tuner when summoned. I'm pretty sure this was revealed before the Dayscape archetype was revealed. I'm not sure, but it is a really good card. So this will send the trap, which can increase or decrease the level or anything. And then we're going to be activating this card. It's practically the same card as this, except instead of sending the monster card to the graveyard, it can search the card instead. So pretty much we're going to send a trap to the graveyard to search a monster. We search this card, a Datascape Savant Lao Lao. The typing of this deck is also pretty weird. Half the cards are Wind Psychic and the other half are Earthworm, but they have a couple of cool gimmicks to them too. Since we special summoned in level 3, we can summon this thing that we dumped to graveyard with this, and now we can special summon Psychic Wielder from our deck. And then we can use the effect of the dog. During the end phase, the dog adds a monster from your graveyard to your hand. It does not have to be face up on the field to resolve this effect, which is super great. We're going to be dumping the spell. So now we're going to go into this one, Datascape Fox Xian Xian. It's a generic level 9, and it has pretty generic effects too. It makes any card sent from the field to the graveyard banished instead, which is it's a pretty nice floodgate and works very well with this deck, especially with the trap. The trap has a super great on-field effect. It can shuffle back 2 of your banished Datascape cards to pop a card, which is super great. And there's 2 other effects. When your monster declares an attack, you can return something from the one banished card to the graveyard, and during the main phase, except the turn it was sent to graveyard, banish 2 other monsters with different original types and attributes to summon it. So I guess this is the reason why Psychic, Wind, and Earthworm are kind of important, mainly because they have to be different types and attributes. but that's enough aside. We're going to use the effect of this thing to increase its level by 3. And now this was a very early build. I realized I do not play any other generic rank 9s. In this was a very early build, by the way. The only rank 9 level 9s I run were these two of these, an Ultimate, not an Ultimate Zolkon, Quarian Gandrax, and a Trishula. So that was kind of trash. I did change the deck a bit, which you'll see in my next one. And when this thing is banished, it can shuffle something back. So it'll be shuffling back the trap. We can use the effect of this thing. When summoned, it can just reborn another Datascape, I believe. Yes, it does. So we're going to be summoning. We're going to be dumping this thing, and then we're going to be reviving the level 6 one. Now we can overlay those two into a VFD. We can overlay these two into a Photon Strike Bouncer, which is basically a free monster negate. And I believe it's only on the field, I'm not sure. And deals 1002. And so during the end phase, we use the effect of the dog that we activated earlier in order to get a copy of this. So now our opponent has 2 Santa Claus, 2 Dark Bribe, 1 Tour Guide, and 1 Ceasefire. Ceasefire is basically it's kind of like a Just Desserts, but he's going to summon 2 Santa Claus over my Photon Strike Bouncer and my VFD. It's going to be summoning using Tour Guide, going to Cerberus, Sangan, doing stuff. He's going to discard 1 to pop 1 of my Santa Claus so I don't go extra plus. And he's going to search a Planet Pathfinder with his Sangan. He's going to set a Dark Bribe and a Ceasefire pass. He's going to attack over my wielder, and during the end phase Santa Claus will trigger, and this is the reason nobody plays this anymore. During the end phase I get to draw a card. So now I drew an E-Telly, which is super great in this deck, mainly because it has the ability to summon any of these level 3 people. So we're going to activate it. We're going to be summoning Psychic Tracker, which will trigger the Cyber Datascape Princess, which summons itself from the graveyard. And then we can activate the effect of this card. It's basically a searcher for the deck. When you send a card to the graveyard, you add one with a different type. So you I'll send this trap to the graveyard in order to add a monster to my hand. We add the dog. Then we're activating this thing. It can send just 2 extra cards to the graveyard. You're going to be sending the spell and the thing, and then he activates his Ceasefire. Okay, now this is going to be dealing me a lot of damage, 3k in fact, but we can easily recover from this. I ran Coral Dragon in this early build. I probably shouldn't have, but this thing will trigger. It shuffles a banished card back. We're going to go into an Ultimate Zolkon. Coral Dragon will let me draw 1, and we drew a card, Foolish Burial Goods, which we can set to trigger our Ultimate Zolkon. Summon out Crystal Wing. We can activate the effect of Xian, which can recover itself by banishing 2 cards with different types and attributes or something. And then we can use the effect of this thing. We can search 1, discard 1. I forgot I had the dog in my hand, so I just searched another one. Then we can activate this thing. It can just increase the level of something. And then we can summon the levels rank 6 Xyz. It's a really cool card, by the way. It can detach 2 to banish 1 face-up card your opponent controls and a card from either player's graveyard. So technically I'm just going to just banish that and banish another card from his graveyard. I could have banished something else, but that's okay. And I believe this is just attack for game. He couldn't really do much. So that was the first game. We'll go on to the second match then. And for this duel, we're up against Necroface? Question mark. Okay. We're up against Necroface then. He's going to be going first. I'm happy with the Nibiru I drew until I see the Extravagance. I'm like, he's not going to be summoning more than 5 monsters. We're going to start off. He's going to draw 2. He's going to summon Planet Pathfinder. He's going to get that out of the way and search a Mystic Mine. Nice. And now he's going to activate the Gizmek Orochi. Special summon itself. And pass. Gizmek Orochi pass. Nice. So, we're going to draw. This deck can out a Mystic Mine with its trap. The trap is an extra pop. On top of that, it's rank 6 Xyz synchro is also a pop, and the rank 6 Xyz is a banish. This deck has tons of removal, easy ways to summon them. This deck has everything going for it, really. It's kind of like BA, to be honest. We're gonna use Jackalope, summon Snack from deck, and then we're gonna be activating the Datascape gate, and then we can just go off with our other plays. We will be dumping a copy of the gate in order to search a copy of the level 6 Keelan, I believe it's pronounced. We're gonna go into Stardust Charge Warrior. I swapped out the Coral Dragon for Stardust Charge Warrior so that I can just gain instant advantage, getting to draw one. We're gonna change a Demise of the land. He's gonna get rid of his Mystic Mine for a Kyoto Waterfront. Okay, I don't know what this man's doing, okay? We're gonna activate this thing. It can send 2 cards to graveyard. We're gonna be sending this to graveyard, and since we already have the trap in the graveyard, I don't really feel there's a need to send another trap, because the second part is optional. We're gonna be activating the effect of dog. We get to send this thing to graveyard. I'm gonna add it during my end phase. Then I use the effect of that thing. It can just revive itself since I summoned a level 3 monster. And we're going to use the effect of the trap in order to increase the level of that to 6. And then we can go into a Crocodile, which will let us draw one. And then we're going to overlay into this. It is a free banish for a face-up card my opponent controls. And I drew a Foolish Burial too, which is pretty good because it can dump the this card. And is a free rota from the graveyard. It can banish it, search a monster, and then discard a card. So now I will be activating my Phoenix, banish Mystic Mine, and Gizmek, and then we're gonna be activating the effect of the spell. We search one, and discard one. And I forget that I have actually used this before during my turn. I really forget. I thought I didn't use it, but it turns out I did. So I'm going to just attack and pass. Also, by the way, I don't think I even normal summoned that turn. I should have normal summoned this, but okay. It doesn't make a difference. He drew a Kaiju. We're going to chain this, and I want to pop that until I realize that Kyoto Waterfront has a protection effect. Okay. And he also drew another Kaiju, which is bad for us. He's going to activate Trade In. He's going to discard the Kaiju, and I just ash that. He's going to be summoning a Pancratops, and he's going to attack for some damages. I mean, I guess there wasn't really much of a point of summoning this man, but okay. He's going to activate Pancratops, and he's going to pop my Phoenix. And there's a reason why it's called Phoenix, because it has a graveyard effect that lets me summon 2 Datascape monsters with the same type and attribute from my deck. So I'm going to be summoning this and this. This thing, I haven't talked about this one because it hasn't really come up. It can just summon a monster after it's summoned, which is super great. And also during my last turn, I meant to get this from my graveyard with the doggo, but it was a misclick. So we draw this thing, super great. This just lets us, it's summoned itself for free. I dump the Cyber Datascape Princess, and we dump this spell. So we're going to go ahead into an Ultimaya Zolkin. I don't really know why I went for that. I probably should have gone for something better. I mean, I could have searched whatever I want with this thing, and then I could have gone into some synchro plays, yada yada. And we're going to use this. I target that for some reason. I meant to target that, and I dump my trap. I don't know why I did that. I should have just searched the trap for Ultimaya Zolkin. I would have been able to go into a rank 6 of some sort, into maybe a level 9 actually. I could have gone into something like Trishula. Don't know why I did stuff. I mean, technically I could have hit that Necroface with Trishula, but of course, bad plays, misplays, ignore them. So we have the Datascape Beast Geo. I think that's how it's pronounced. They have weird names, okay? Don't judge me. This can banish 2 monsters with the same type and attribute in order to send a card my opponent controls to the graveyard. We're going to activate this thing. It summons itself and is a monster reborn in 1. Then he surrenders. He had low life points. I could have just gone into another I could have gone into this thing, and then I could have overlaid into something like a photon strike bouncer, and he probably would have lost from there. We'll go into our last match then. And right here we are up against OCG Meta, up against I don't really need to explain what we're up against. We're up against Flame Noble Knights. We're going to go first, and we are going to obliterate them. I'm going to activate Foolish Burial Goods. We dump this thing, and it will let us search one and discard one. I'm going to get rid of the trap for now, because that's a great graveyard effect. We're going to activate Datascape Capital. It lets us activate a gate from our deck. The gates are basically just a continuous spells and traps, and this lets us activate one of them. We're going to activate the effect of the lady thing. We're going to be dumping a copy of this spell again, just to search this thing. And then we're going to be activating it. We will get to dump this. And we special summon Wielder. We revive the princess. And then we pretty much go off from there. We get this thing, Xian. We go into number 3, Cicada King. It's another very new card. It basically just when a monster on the field activates its effect, I can detach one and negate it. And then it gains 500 defense on top of that after it resolves. So pretty decent. We have a Macro Cosmos and by the way, I activated that during my turn just so that I can turn on my trap, which is a free pop. And we're pretty well off from there. For a Flame Noble Knight player, he has a really good hand. Cross-out Designator, Forbidden Droplet. What else could you ask for? He's going to activate Near Space Connector. I try to stop him right there with my Cicada King. But unfortunately, he has his Forbidden Droplet, which will discard a Expaladin and a Cross-out Designator. Interesting that he decided to go with the Cross-out Designator. And he will stop everything. And he's going to summon the Aqua Dolphin. He'll use the Aqua Dolphin and sees my Nibiru and takes 500. He goes into Isolde. Once again, I'm not too worried about not being able to Nibiru him. I just do not want him to go through any plays whatsoever. I'm going to be chaining my trap so that he does not get the special summon effect. But he does search Olivier, and he has Gearfried now. He had the Gearfried in hand. Another super great boss monster. It's super easy to summon within the deck, and it's very difficult to out. He's gonna be equipping my Cicada King. I take damage, and he passes. So right here, I draw this thing. Now you must be wondering, you can't do anything from here. I have this in my hand. Meaning I can search another Datascape if I want. On top of that, I have this thing. It's a Monster Reborn for free, and then I could have just chained this to pop his Gearfried, and there isn't really much he could have done. He wouldn't have been able to negate that because I'll be chain blocking with my Zook. I'll pop that, and then I could probably make something like a couple of Zulkins. I mean, he only had one card in his hand, and then when he saw that I banished 2, he knew that this was going to turn on again, and he kind of just scooped. So we'll go on to the deck profile then. And here is the deck. I'll just mouse over it and I'll go over the strengths and weaknesses I think the deck has. This deck has a lot of swarming capabilities, but unfortunately does require a lot of fuel in your hand. It very rarely bricks, almost barely, and it barely even uses its normal summon for a fact. So pretty much they can't even do anything. One tech card you can run in this is Ghost Ogre, because you can summon it off Emerging Teleport, and it also just synergizes with the Psychic Engine in this deck. So right here I'm just mousing over it. The VFD, you can make it super easily in this deck because of the amount of level 9 monsters, synchro monsters you can get out. I was thinking of maybe putting Nibiru in my side deck, maybe swapping it out for something like an Effect Veiler or I don't know, a Lancia, but yes, it does work pretty well. I'll just go over the cards in depth now. Nibiru is just generic hand trap. 3 copies of every Datascape monster. Lin, Lao Lao, Rui, Niang, and Doggo. Those are all the monsters. They have incredible effects. As I'll just go over them again. All of them have the effect except the princess. To target a Datascape card, a face-up one, and then you can send a card with a different type, spell or trap. Different type, monster, spell or trap. So if you target a monster with it, you can have to send a spell or trap to the graveyard, special summon it, and then it gets another effect from there. This one just dumps another card. This one is a monster reborn for any Datascape monster, but it cannot be a monster with the same name as a card he dumped. 3 copies of Rui Rui. It's basically the same as this, except it searches instead of sending it to the graveyard. This is different. It summons itself from the graveyard if a level 3 monster is summoned, and you can easily just get it to the graveyard with cards, with all of these Datascape cards actually. We have, and this doggo just recurs materials from graveyard. 2 copies of Psychic Tracker and Psychic Wielder. They're just extra level 3 monsters that you can get super easily in this deck. If you want, you can run something like other BA options actually. Maybe cards like, say, Gallus or a Gilasaurus. They're also free special summons, but I like Psychic Tracker and Wielder, as not only do they synergize with the deck as being level 3 monsters, easily summonable, they're also psychic, which really works with the deck too, as works pretty well in general. We run 2 dangers, Snack and Jackalope. Both of them are good because it gets a card in the graveyard. The spells and traps have graveyard effects. This thing has graveyard effects, so they have some pretty strong cards, and you can maybe set up the graveyard for this card. They are always great, and the draws always help. We have 3 copies of Ash Blossom, just a generic hand trap. I don't really feel the need to run Called by the Grave in this deck. I mean, every single card, every single monster can just be ashed, but I feel that Called by the Grave isn't too necessary, as this card that can play through a nice couple of negates, and on top of that, it can break boards, it can really make boards too, and it's super great. Maybe if you're really feeling insecure, you can take out this Nibiru, and 1 impermanence or something, and then just get stuff. But I like these hand traps. I mean, I don't like hand traps in general, but it just feels right for this deck, mainly because you're able to, you don't have to worry about hand traps that much, as they can play through multiple. 2 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. Usually you're going to be sending this card or this card to the graveyard, because they're the only ones with graveyard effects, of course. This one just searches and sends a card from your hand to the graveyard, and this one can increase or decrease the level, which is super important in terms of getting stuff like Ultima Zolkin on the field, getting Synchros, Exceeds monsters, all of that stuff. 2 copies of Datascape Capital. I only run 2 of this because it can be a bit of a garnet when you're going first. I mean, you can run 3 if you like, just because why not? Maybe take out this impermanence, put in Datascape Capital. But it's a pretty great card. It does not get any use of sending it off stuff like your Datascape monsters. But it is super great in just setting up your field, especially with this card or cards you can target with all of these, so you don't really have to use your normal summon that much. We run 1 copy of Emergency Teleport. You can pretty much summon any of these psychic monsters. If you want, you can run Ghost Ogre, as Ghost Ogre can trigger on field too. You can send it from the field, hand or field, in order to pop something. 3 copies of Dayscape Gate Kinglong. It has a pretty decent on-field effect too, as you can banish a Datascape card from your graveyard, and then you can target a monster on the field and negate it, which is super great. Main reason why we run 3 is its graveyard effect. It's a super powerful graveyard effect that lets you search anything from your deck. 2 copies of Impermanence, the negates are negates, you know, and 3 copies of Zook. Zook just, we run 3 because we also want to see it in our hand. It has a brilliant on-field effect. Not only does it help you recycle banished cards, it can also just pop one as an extra disruption. If you're feeling insecure and you want to run Called by the Grave, you can always just take out that and put it in your Called. So, sorry, that's just two. For extra deck, it's a pretty standard extra deck. We can run cards like Ultimate Zolkin, as we can easily get two monsters with the same level and one tuner, not one non-tuner. Way easier than any other deck. I can probably see this becoming meta at some point, as it's such a powerful deck. Two copies of Datascape Fox. This is a only on field macrocosmos, unfortunately, but it just works so well with this deck. On top of that, you can banish other cards, banish two other monsters with different types and attributes to just recover it during your turn if it got beaten over or something like that. And those two banished cards can just set up for a Datascape Zook. And then it also has a great recovery effect where if when your monster declares an attack, you can return a banished monster to the graveyard. So you can maybe return this to the graveyard so that you can use it during your next turn. That's why I run two. Two is always great. Mainly also just to show this is really just a Datascape deck, a pure version. One Trishula, you can make this really easily in this deck too, just with the amount of level 3s you can just flood on the board. One copy of Vermilion Dragon Mech, it's a nice card to have. On top of that, you can banish stuff from your hand, graveyard, or face-up field to destroy stuff, which is super great. On top of that, it can also recover banished tuners, which is super great in this deck too. And most people just play this because it's a generic rank level 9, but it actually synergizes with the deck because you get advantage of banishing stuff because you can get stuff like Zook online, Xian online just to recover stuff. There are lots of ways you can take advantage of the banishing. One copy of Crocodile. 99% of the time you will get just one draw. Usually, sometimes you'll get two draws, but it just works very well. On top of that, it's a free pop, and mainly you're just going to use it to go straight into VFD. One copy of Crystal Wing to summon off your Ultimate Zolkin. One copy of Datascape Beast. This thing, it's non-destruction removal, which is very important for some decks, mainly because their floating effects are very oppressive, and it can be destroyed by battle or card effects if you have two monsters with the same type and attribute and different names in your graveyard. And yes, it's pretty decent. Got 2400 body, pretty great. And for the last of our synchros, we run one Stardust Charge Warrior. Stardust Charge Warrior just gives you instant advantage in terms of just drawing one instantly. Just helps us a lot. For Xyz monsters, we have one copy of VFD. You can make VFD super easily in this deck, and so can we make Enter Blatnir for the hand loops. One copy of Photon Strike Bouncer. It's a free monster negate. On top of that, you can make it easily with the amount of level 6s you play. One copy of Datascape Phoenix. This is a free banish from the field and the graveyard, which is very important. On top of that, its floating effect is absolutely insane. Summoning two Datascape monsters from your deck is obviously super powerful. One copy of Datascape Dragon. This can... Its materials are a bit specific. They need to be of the same type and attribute. But it is super great nonetheless. While it has material, your opponent cannot target it with card effects, which is pretty great protection, especially taking notice of the fact that it has 2400 body, which is decent. And if your opponent activates a monster effect, that with an attribute that's not on their field, you detach 2 to negate it. In case you're wondering what that means, say they have something like say they are playing Orchist, okay, and then they have some sort of light monster on their field, or earth monster, more specific, and they only have earth monsters on their field, and then they activate the effect of an Orchis monster. You can just detach 2 from this card to negate it because they're activating a dark monster's effect while you control no dark monsters. And for our last card, we run one copy of Cicada King, probably the new best rank 3, just because it lets you negate the effect of an on-field monster. On top of it just makes itself a very large wall, slowly but surely, because after that effect resolves, you can just make it go up to 3k. It's super powerful card. On top of that, maybe if you just summoned it in attack, just to get an extra bit of damage. You can change it to defense during your opponent's turn, because that you can also do that. It's a really great card all around, and it's super great in this deck. So that was the deck. I hope you enjoyed it. Do like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.